Well, hey there, unprofessionals. Welcome to our exciting episode where you can listen to two Mealeys battle it out. Before we deep dive into all of that, we just want to remind you to like and subscribe. Make sure you're sharing us around and give us 5 stars. I genuinely don't know what interface you're looking at right now, but take a moment, look at the entire interface, and I want you to click every button with a positive connotation that could possibly get us just more attention. Because we want it. We want it. This episode is brought to you by Inspirational Posters. Inspirational Posters. Give 110%, hang in there, and take the stairs to success. Side effects of inspirational posters may include depression, irony, and sarcasm. Alright, unprofessionals, stay unprofessional.
It's okay to be unprofessional. This is a teacher confessional. Real teachers, the stories are real. You're gonna laugh with Tudisco and Mealey. Nice.
Welcome, unprofessionals, to another very exciting episode. Today we have some double trouble because I'm Tudisco.
I'm Mealey.
And with us today, I'm getting Mealey in stereo.
I'm the better Mealey. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I was struggling trying to distinguish, how are we going to talk because I call both of you Mealey. So if I just call Mealey and you better Mealey.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I think that really makes things a lot less confusing. Thank you.
Well, you technically are. I don't know what version of Mealey you are. Would you be 3.0 or 4.0? Because our dad is Mealey 1.0, and then
I guess I'm 4.0.
You're 4.0 because there's a middle.
I mean, you just keep getting better and better.
You have a middle brother who's way smarter.
Yes.
He's like 0.5. No, just kidding.
So, Mealey, can you please explain why your brother is on the podcast?
For those of you that listen to the Getting to Know Us episode, the real premiere episode that everyone should listen to if they haven't listened to it already.
And then every episode afterwards.
And then every episode is that I referenced the fact that he taught gym, and we also talked about the fact
phys ed, please.
Phys ed, that he teaches phys ed, and we talked about the fact whether or not that phys ed is actually a real teacher or not. And so he's here to defend, he's here speaking really on behalf of all phys ed teachers and whether or not that is real teaching.
So you have 2 reasons to beat up on our guest today.
Yeah, bring it. Go ahead.
So what grades did you teach? And when did you teach? How long were you doing that?
I'm in my 17th year at middle school at 6th, 7th, and 8th. I did 2 years at a high school. Started off coaching basketball and baseball. Added soccer, of course, girls soccer. It was kind of a funny story to me when the athletic director goes, "Hey, would you like to coach soccer?" I said, "Sure, absolutely." It's my first teaching job, and all of a sudden you start signing the paperwork, and human resource says, "Oh, by the way, it's JV girls soccer." But let me tell you, it was the best decision I ever made. And I now coach middle school girls soccer. I had also coached girls high school at the varsity level. And they're like sponges. They're so appreciative, and they're actually less drama than the boys, which is probably the opposite of what you think. The girls just tend to care more about what they do. No matter what, they want to succeed. The boys, sometimes you get halfway through a game and you can tell they just check out. The majority of girls, obviously not everyone and not every boy, but the majority of girls care more than the boys.
It's interesting.
I love coaching boys basketball too, but it is a whole different world, and just it's kind of crazy.
So, when you were in high school, was there anything that told you were going to be a phys ed teacher, or were you into sports back then?
I played soccer, basketball, baseball growing up, everything. And then as I got to high school, I kind of narrowed it down to just basketball and golf, which is a family game that, well, at least almost everybody in the family plays.
One extremely negative experience with golf when on a very hot day when we had to carry our clubs back in the day.
How old were you?
Probably 10.
Oh, jeez.
And
Poor baby had to carry his clubs.
I was a wee little lad.
Still kind of small, but
The clubs were probably about 30 to 40% of my body weight, and it was about
pretty much.
Knees and Mealey 3.0, who's not present today, was beating me, and he was about 2.5 years younger than me, or something like that. And I got really frustrated, and the heat and the carrying the clubs, and it all culminated in me deciding, I'm like, this is the last time that I'll be playing golf on a real golf course. And when I kind of make up my mind to do something or to not do something, I'm kind of a stubborn person. And so I didn't play anymore after that.
Are you okay with mini golf?
I'm okay with mini golf.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm okay with even chip and putt or other things.
Yeah.
Pull up, I'll go to Top Golf, stuff like that. But
okay. Yeah,
I think it comes down to the athletic genes skip the first child.
That explains the long line of English kings.
The time I beat my brother in horse, though, okay? And we were both grown up. So which is pretty much the main measure of your athletic prowess.
Oh, yeah.
I think for my physical activity of that, like I do enjoy going to the driving range. Like that's just fun to burn off some steam. And full contact mini golf. You need to be able to tackle your opponents when they're not ready.
Make it a challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So going back to when you were in high school. So we love funny stories. So whether it's some stories from when you were a kid and you were playing sports, some of your people you were playing sports with, or your coaches, what are some good, funny sports stories that you have for us that just will make us chuckle?
It's a little scary, I guess, a couple of stories, but
Oh dear.
Funny to me, at least. I think I was either 8 or 9.
Okay.
And we were playing basketball, and our father was the coach.
Uh-huh.
Of course, he encouraged me to take a stand for myself and make sure the people don't foul me.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Hey, sometimes you have to take things in your own hands because the ref doesn't make a call. So he kind of, I don't know if he taught me this or just kind of hinted at it at one point. To stutter step, kind of let the defender come in closer, and then just plow him over.
Wow.
Well, I kind of did that. I was like, whatever. This guy's all over me. I'm going to make sure this is stopping.
Right.
I guess the funny part of the story, now that I look back, it's not really funny if I'm an adult. Funny as a kid, as I ran the kid over, he gets a bloody nose.
Oh, my.
And he gets the foul.
Nice. Nice. Yes. Our dad would teach you, for lack of a better word, maybe loopholes or nuances of the rules so that you could take advantage of them and things could work out.
Yeah, I mean, there was no elbow thrown. There was no purposeful. It was just, slow down and speed up. And he was just in the wrong place.
Right. That moment when you bloodied a child and made it cry, you thought, I could be a teacher.
Yes. I could definitely be a teacher and a coach, yeah. Long way away from being a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, he really was for coaching at that level, he was kind of doing stuff that a lot of coaches weren't doing, I think. Like, I remember when he was coaching me when I played, and I was not super athletic, as Sean has pointed out about 9 times already. And,
but truth hurts sometimes.
But I had a lot of hustle, and I said I had a lot of stubbornness in me. So we were playing a team who, and at the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 level, there's definitely normally about 1 or 2 kids who have made a leap in talent or have got the game where a lot of everyone else is kind of left behind, and there's one kid that you're like, oh, he's going to be good at other levels of this. And these kids are just
better Mealey, not other Mealey.
Right. So they had one of those on that team. And, if you can basically dribble and shoot at that level, if you can do both of those, then that's pretty impressive, right? And so they had one of those. So our dad literally had us play a zone 2-2 and then told me, you're not in the zone. You go wherever he goes, and you put your hand in his face the entire time you're on defense, whether he has the ball or not.
Yep.
So this 9-10-year-old who is used to just dominating every game that he played now has this really annoying mosquito that is just with him everywhere he goes, putting his hand in his face all the time. And he hated me.
That's like slapshot tactics. That's just straight Hanson brothers.
Right. And, yes. But it made a difference, and it basically made his game, like, he couldn't do what he normally could do in a game. And it, I don't remember if we won or not, but I know that I had a good time, and I know that kid didn't have a good time at all.
Yeah, it probably did. I'm boxing one back in the day. It wasn't very
right. Yeah.
If I had ever done sports, I imagine that's what I would be. At my most badass, I could slightly annoy the good people.
Yeah, just go follow him everywhere. In the bathroom, there he goes. I've heard those stories before. They just you're attached to him.
Yeah. And
please get out of the huddle.
Well, Mr. Better Mealey, did that ever happen to you, where you were the guy and they attached someone to you?
Yes, it is very frustrating, I can admit. I remember being on the other end with our father as our coach too, and I was like the second best, or the little kid that was good, and they to our best player, and Dad just looked at me. He's like, "Well, I guess it's your time, because they're not leaving him alone."
Right.
So, it was fun though.
Awesome. So, there's a certain coach whose name we probably don't want to mention either, but we know who we're talking about. No. Yes?
Yeah. We don't have to mention him.
Is he still with us, by the way?
He's still with us. He's down. He's down in the villages, I hear.
Okay. Whatever that means.
He's a golfer down in Florida.
Oh, okay. He said down in the villages. I thought maybe he's with the Smurfs or...
Going to cult.
Well, it is a little bit of a cult in the villages, but, it's for another podcast.
Okay. So, do you have any stories that reference his nuances and his uniqueness?
Geez, there's so many. And it's kind of comical because I remember one vividly, one practice when I was a senior. We were one of the best teams in the state. And we ran this press that was basically devised from Kentucky. And it morphed from like a 2-2-1 to a 1-3-1. It was very advanced for high school. And he didn't do a lot of things that were super advanced as a coach. But this was one of the things that really worked. And one day, I don't know how it happened, but he rearranged us how we started. And now I played with some of the best athletes in the area, basically. And one of them was 5'7", but could almost dunk and run faster than anyone on a court, and could break a press, could beat everybody down the court. Almost at times, I'm like, here, I'll just pass you the ball and I'll watch against certain teams. So somehow we switch roles. And, I am more athletic than the other Mealeys in the clan. But as far as this kid's concerned, he blows me out of the water. He actually ended up walking on at Cincinnati at one point. So this is a college athlete, Division I college athlete. And I'm a possible Division III athlete, for basketball at least. So we ended up in the wrong place, and I just kept trying to fix it, because as the coach in me, and, coming from my father, that I see things. I'm like, I understand, like, this is the way it should work. And I looked at this kid and I'm like, hey, we'll switch. As soon as the ball goes in, we're just going to switch to fix it. And he starts yelling at me. The coach started yelling at me, and everyone looked at me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, because he's suddenly forgotten where we actually set up. And he's done this for I don't know how many years. It's suddenly I'm in the wrong place, and everything's getting messed up. They're breaking our press because, no one knows where to go. He's like, Mealey, you're messing this up. We need a break. And I went over to our assistant coach, and I was like, I'm going to kill him. I was like, what is wrong with him? Why is he so stupid? Right? Meanwhile, as I say that, he comes up behind me, taps me on the shoulder.
Right.
And I was like, of course that happens. And I was like, that doesn't change the fact. I go, coach, we're in the wrong, I go, never mind. So I walk away, and I was I'll go talk to that coach, because he was always my sounding board that I could go to and iron things out when they were wrong, because I understood it better than my coach most of the time. That's the scary part. And that's kind of when I guess developed my coaching techniques, because I had to handle kids, and, the egos on teams are quite interesting. Especially when one coach is feeding egos versus, ignoring the other hardworking players. So,
yes,
it used to get quite interesting, but that was one of those vivid things at practice. I guess my ridiculous moment is we were summer league, and I was super upset. And again, it turned into the blame better Mealey for the mistakes that the other kids were making. And I'm going, that kid's just standing there waiting for the ball. He's not going to the ball. I just got like practically tackled as I went to throw a pass. Like things were happening and it was out of my control. And then he grabbed me, but not like in a real bad way. Like as I was coming off, he just kind of grabbed me and like it set me off. And I don't know what happened, you know, and I don't know what I said. I honestly, it's one of those like blackout moments. And all of a sudden you just start yelling, screaming. And I walked off the court. I'm like, this is a waste of my time. And I go, I'm done. And I'm like going into my senior year. And again, now my former JV coach, who eventually took over as varsity coach and took them to way better heights because he's a better coach. He walks out and follows me because he knows. He's like, you're just mad. He saw what happened. He kind of knew what was going on. He goes, Meals, you got to come back tomorrow. He goes, and it's like literally the last game. It's the championship game of the summer. And he's like, you got to come back and you just sit on the bench and take it like a man. He's like, that's the only way you're going to be able to play as a senior. And I said, I thought about it. I was like, let me think about it. Obviously, and obviously emotions, were heated. So the next day I just, I talked to him. I said, it's obviously, I obviously want to play. You know how bad I love basketball. So I'm coming back. So I come back, and one of my favorite players, as soon as I walk back in the gym, he's, one of our favorites, one of Dad's favorites too. And he's like, hey, Meals, what are you doing here? Thought it was a waste of your time.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it kind of like, it relaxed me a little bit. All right,
that's
whatever.
good.
I was like, it's now amusing. I go sit on the bench for a whole game. Never in my life have I ever sat on a bench an entire game and watched. So that was very difficult, but I took my lumps and learned my lesson that, there's a certain point where, you got to control everything. So
that brings up an interesting question. Because a few people take into account when you talk about coaching, like kids, the emotional aspect, because competitions get very emotional, winning and losing is very emotional. So like when you're coaching, during a game, when emotions are sort of riding high, what do you do to sort of help mediate things?
Yeah, I think that's obviously stems from me being an emotional coach and understanding where they're coming from as a player when, things go wrong and you lose it again. You kind of just, it's that calming voice that, I never thought I really had until I started talking to certain players and then just looking at their reactions, how I talk to them and also how other coaches talk to them, and watching them just calm down and just kind of like, put a gentle hand on them and just be like, hey, I was like, I get where you're coming from. I'll talk to you in a minute. I'll come back, let them cool off for a second and then, come and explain, hey, this is what I saw. I don't know what you saw. This is what I saw. And then I let them talk too. You got to kind of listen to their perspective and listen to them. Them knowing you're invested emotionally is a big thing, especially on the level like I talked about with my favorite coaching, which is the girls soccer team. They know I'm invested emotionally. The boys kind of, they fight that. You're a middle school boy and, I'm too tough to, really like
I'm allergic to emotions.
Yeah. So I show that. I used to be very non-emotional showing. I wouldn't show my emotions. I don't even know how to word that. But
demonstrative is the word. I know you gym teachers don't know too many multisyllabic words.
Smarty pants, Mealey.
Emoting?
My SAT score is a little better, okay? So just
that's a guarantee, but we won't talk about how that, carries over into actual school. But I digress. Just really, I think being completely honest with them. Because I grew up with coaches that were somewhat honest, really honest, and then you could tell they were as fake as can be, and you could tell which ones buy in, and they buy in when you're honest and they know that you're fighting for them. And I sometimes at halftime or after a game, I'll say stuff during a game and I'm like, I just want to explain like where I was coming from because I didn't get a chance to talk to this kid. So really kind of going more into in detail with each player individually, I think is the key. And especially now, kids are just, it's amazing. They're so different. Like again, you could yell at me till I'm blue in the face when I was growing up. And, you know, I'm like, oh, all right, okay. For the most part, it didn't even affect me. You know, I just was like, all right, let's go. It's just,
you're from Philly.
I want to win.
Right. So here's a question I got for you. Trying to think how to word this, but so there's kids.
Start with the word demonstrative.
Demonstrative. So
can you show me an emoji? I don't understand.
So how do you deal with? Because I'm gonna describe two different kinds of kids, and I'm gonna guess that you've had both of them, and tell how you handle these situations. So the kid who thinks they're really good and sucks, and the kid who actually is way better than they think, but for whatever reason has no confidence in their ability and doesn't try to do the things that you want them to do because they don't have that confidence. So like compare and contrast those two.
Is this in a coaching setting or am I a physical education class?
It doesn't matter. Either one, actually. If you want to go back to, if you want to take it back to the classroom, air quotes of the.
I mean, it is a classroom, just saying.
Yeah.
Fight.
It's a very large classroom. It's a classroom that most people can't handle. I get it. You know, it's one of those things where.
I'm stealing this joke, but one of
my...
No,
you can't use that joke. It's terrible.
Yes. The gym teacher lesson plan.
No.
Call roll ball.
Yeah, exactly. See? No one's even creative anymore. He's talking about something good, not something from, you know.
So you've heard that lesson plan? Did you hear that from me, or have you heard that other places, that joke?
I've heard every one in the book. But I always say, I'm like, hey, guess what, guys? We went to college. How many science classes? I was, I believe, 3 classes short of pre-med. So did you take those? No, I don't think so.
Actually, I know a lot of gym teachers who double as science teachers.
Yep.
Do you?
We take a lot of anatomy, physiology, kinesiology. I mean, there were so many classes. And granted, I was going, whoa, this is intense. And it wasn't was I expecting. But then every now and then you reference something, it like triggers in your brain and you're like, I remember saying it to, you know, the other brother, the whatever we call him, 3.0. What is he? Something about the radial ulnar like ligament or something. And he was like, what? How do you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. Just it's one of those things that actually stuck in my head for that crazy anatomy and physiology class that I took at 8 in the morning.
Cool. Okay, so contrast those two kids.
So back and forth, you know what we're doing. There's certain kids, and I have at times looked the other way and let the kids handle the problem. Mm-hmm. The kid that thinks he's really good and not. The less confident kid that's the toughest one, but also obviously the most enjoyable that you can help that kid. Just like, I mean, you guys know as teachers that, you know, when you're going to help a kid, you know, build up that confidence, talking to that kid and explaining to them that like they're doing things and you just have to keep pointing out, like, this is what I've seen you do. This is what you've done in class, or this is what you've done on the team. This is what you've done in practice. This is what you do in individual drills. And they're like, and I go, what's the difference? I go, it's all in your head. And I go, I know that's really simple to say, like, hey, it's all in your head. I was like, but it is. I go, when have you ever heard me tell you that I don't have confidence in you? I go, if anything, I'm telling you to shoot more, telling you to kick the ball, you know, try to score more, whatever it is. I was like, I am the biggest cheerleader and the most positive coach I could possibly be, because I've been on the other side of the negative coaches and reduce those negative comments. And I know I say this, and this is so cheesy when I say kids these days, but kids these days, they just are a lot more softer. We'll just put it.
Okay.
So they're
more in touch with their emotions.
I don't know if it's that.
They're more responsive to positive feedback.
Yes.
Yes.
They're more demonstrative,
and I get
obviously.
I was like, oh, you beat me to it. I almost had it out too. I was trying to get that word out. I was trying to remember, what did my brother teach me that? No, but it really is. It's that, again, it's building that relationship and that rapport with that student or that player is the biggest thing. And I've talked to parents after, even, you know, like I coach varsity soccer, and I had a parent say, he's like, you know, we've had other coaches that they may know more than you. They go, but you get the most out of them. You get kids to play for you that wouldn't play for other people. Mm-hmm. They know that you were fully invested. and you're emotionally invested in them and in their success. It's not about you. You can tell that it's not about you. And that's the biggest thing to kind of show the kids that it's not about you. It's more about them.
Speaking of which, that leads me to another question. Because some coaches, it's about the coach. And so tell us a story other than our the villager, which it was about him as well. Villager. But but what coaches have you had experiences when there's someone on the opposite, whether it was another coach that you had or someone who was on the opposite side of the field or court or whatever, where you go, oh my goodness, that coach doesn't get it, and you were just embarrassed for them, or you saw something that just happened that you're like, I can't believe that happened?
Yeah, I've seen it obviously numerous times. I mean, coaching high school level, you see the most ridiculous things. I mean, to the extent of golf, which is typically one of the most honest sports you could have, and him basically trying to find ways. This is a coach that basically like would push buttons of my players, even though you're not supposed to even interact with them.
Wow.
Like he negatively like say things to them, not during their swings, but like after the fact, and be like, oh man, wow, that's going to be a rough one from that spot over there. Oh, that's probably out of bounds. Or
probably don't need to heckle teenagers. I feel like
it really is. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you find yourself in that position, rethink some life choices.
Yeah. And you're pretty sure that was 100% intentional, like gamesmanship, not like he was just like speaking with no filter. It was gamesmanship.
No, I talked to the other coaches in the conference, and I basically at one point just pulled them aside and said something to him and gave it to him straight. I said, this is ridiculous. I go, all it comes down to is you've been the powerhouse team for years. And I go, you've been the big bully. I go, guess what? We're better than you now, and my players are better than you. So guess what? You're not winning a state championship. It's done, and just get over it, and don't take it out on my players. And I was like,
did it come to pass as you spoke?
Oh yes, we won back-to-back state championships.
All right,
for state champions. So I mean, don't get me wrong, I had 2 players of the year on my team in like back-to-back years. Mm-hmm. Brothers and another player, but going into that kind of goes into another tangent, of course, a Mealey tangent. I have a player that back in middle school, so he was one of those kids that like didn't come to middle school, was like a short little chunky kid, like zero confidence. Most teachers don't remember him at middle school. Like he's one of those kids in the middle of the road, like kind of did what he's supposed to and was kind of there. Then he got to high school, and obviously I took over as varsity coach for golf, and they were good. And he was I knew he was the one that was going to put us over the edge. I could tell. I go, look, these other 2 are superstars. I don't have to play mental games with them. I don't have to kind of build them up as much. They have enough confidence and egos that I just have to stroke.
Right.
But this kid was one that struggled, and he wasn't as confident in himself. And he went through some things with family and everything else that went on. And at one point we were going into like a big conference championship. And I looked at him, and this is just what I tell people. I go, big picture. I go, this means nothing. Go home with your family. Go take care of, your family. This is number one. This doesn't mean anything. And I go, hey, guess what? We've got someone else. They'll step in. If we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. I go, and you don't have to worry about it. I was like, I'll see you when I see you. I go, if I see you for the big, tournament of champions, trust me, we'll be happy and we'll love to have you. I was like, but if you need to spend more time with them, then spend more time with them. And a couple instances happened during that team. It was, and probably it's funny because golf, you don't think of as a real coach. You don't really have as much hands on, but I felt was like some of my best coaching that I've ever done. And morally teaching kids what is right.
Yeah.
Because at one point there was one kid on the team that wasn't morally a good person. And I had given him chances after chances. And then we went into like I said, the tournament of champions, and you have 4 players, and all 4 scores count now versus 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 that were in a lot of the other tournaments. And I said, look, I need the most if you guys want to win this, like you want to win the Group 4 state championship, this is who we're taking. He goes, well, we could win the whole thing. I was like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was like, we're not there yet. I was like, we are not there yet. We're not quite that team. We're not at the elite level. We're a couple strokes behind, not far behind. I said, but I think this person is going to guarantee you a Group 4 state championship, because I know what I'm going to get out of you, and you. You're getting these scores in the low 70s, if not 60s. And I just need like an 80 to 84 out of this kid is what he shoots every single time. Right. He doesn't really do anything different. The other kid, not a good kid, could shoot 70, or he could shoot 95 and blow it. And I told him, I said, I'm taking care of you because I don't trust it. Right. I said, I'm going to tell you flat out, and this kid deserves it. This kid has worked his butt off for years and years, and he's a senior. And guess what? Exactly what I said happened. It was one of those, I'm a genius, of course. And I still bust their chops about it, because I still talk to them, and they're like trying to be on the PGA tour, like these two kids.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. And every now and then I do like, I'm like, hey, how's that putting? Because it was, one of the kids was putting. Like, there's always little things that I can. But going back to that other kid, that third kid, that was like, he was the glue that made this team a championship team. Mm-hmm. And he needed me near him. At one point in one championship, you're allowed to go with the players. Like, we walk around and we are we're supposed to be there for help, but we're not allowed to actually coach. We're there for rules violations or anything like that. And he goes, I just want you near me. And I said, okay. I was like, guys, you're on your own, because I have to be there, because he's struggling with some things with family. Right. Fast forward, years later, he goes on to play golf at college and graduate. I mean, super smart kid. Now at Harvard Medical School.
Wow.
And like, the joy of my life at this point is like, he asked me, he said, I want you to be there when I graduate from Harvard. So
that's really, really cool.
I might cry, but it's like one of those things. It just is so awesome. And I didn't realize even to that extent that it was something I was doing. Right. Until he told me, he goes, without you, I never would have made it through high school. I would have left. I wouldn't have graduated. I never would have accomplished what I did. He goes, you and one other teacher. And I said, and you guys know, you understand it. Like, that's what gets you into teaching. That's what's the joy of teaching, is hearing those stories. And we know that some kids never tell you, but it's knowing it's there. And that was just like, this kid is so awesome. And now he's literally writing papers about COVID-19 and the he wants to do public like healthcare and like dealing with that and like being an advocate for everyone. And it's amazing how much that kid has grown.
That's awesome. And that kid grew up to become Arnold Palmer.
Yes. He is, just in case you're wondering, his name is Tiger Woods.
Dr. Woods.
Yes, Dr. Woods.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because that's, I think, we here at Unprofessional Development, that's like the theme that we keep coming back to, that it's about the kids, and it really doesn't matter sometimes. Like, if you can show people grace, and you don't have to treat every kid exactly the same. You have to treat the kid the way the kid needs to be treated, and kind of related to that whole thing, like, I had a kid who wasn't doing any work, now that we're online and all that kind of stuff. And I reached out to the parent, and the parent is like, well, my uncle is in New York and passed away from the COVID-19, Corona. And, I immediately texted her back, and I'm like, just let him know that nothing is due now. You don't have to do anything. I'm not worried about it. He's good. Don't
Big
even Don't worry about that. You know what I mean? I've had kids come in sometimes. I had this girl like years ago. She came in, sweet girl, wasn't a great student. She was struggling to pass to begin with. But her grandmother had passed away over the weekend. She comes in on like a Monday, and we had like a test day. It was a Tuesday, whatever it was. She comes in, and she's like literally like a hand of the test, and she's like trying not to cry. I said, what's going on? She's like, my grandmother passed away. Da, da, da. I'm like, put the test down. Give me that. You do what you need to do. I said, if, you need me to write a note so you can go to talk to your counselor. You need to go to the library and just chill. I said, you need to go to the bathroom. Just get up and go to the bathroom. I said, the rules are different for you today because things are going on. And sometimes we lose sight of that. And sometimes we get caught up in what we're doing and, being in charge and all that, and we lose sight of like, okay, hold on. This situation is different here, and you need to just do what that kid needs to do. Or need to do what's best for that kid. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So Tudisco, did you have any other questions for either Mealey, I guess?
Well, Mealey, sorry. Normal Mealey.
Wait, time out.
Wanted to ask better Mealey.
Yeah, I don't think there is no such thing as normal
There's no
Mealey.
normal Mealey. I won't even, there isn't one in family.
That's an oxymoron right there.
Yes.
I redact my statement.
Okay.
Everyday Mealey.
Right.
Wanted to ask better Mealey to take a moment and defend phys ed. So why do we need phys ed? Why is it important? What do you say to all the haters?
Well, it's a real simple argument to me. I mean, it's kind of funny because my brother is, math teacher, and I always draw the analogy there. I'm always like, okay, so when you get older in life, do you need math or your health? Any arguments over? Done. It's a done deal.
Wow.
Like, your physical education and your health education is more important. I'm not saying math is not important. I would never actually say that. I don't actually mean that. Same thing with, history. It's a thing of the past. Why do we care about it? I mean, you could argue that with every single subject, and it's kind of silly.
Yeah, but you need to understand Emily Dickinson.
What?
Yeah.
That's true.
Who's that?
Yeah, or else you'll die.
Yes.
That's a fact.
I know.
I know. And do you teach?
And you don't need handwriting anymore, people. I hate to disappoint you. Handwriting is not important.
No, it is
Script
not.
Writing.
Type and text, but
do you teach phys ed and health?
Presently, I only teach phys ed, and we actually, with support from a lot of people, our superintendent, our PTO, and everything else, we have taken our program to the next level and instituted a wellness and also a fitness room that we have just helped begin and initiate the first stages, I guess, so to speak, to take class to another level. We do an elective-based program. We give the kids a choice of what they want to do. We kind of take a survey of kids, and this isn't typical of everyone, but there's a lot more doing this now, where they give the kids a choice. God forbid the kid actually chooses things he wants to do. He is in middle school. He should have some sort of direction and some sort of idea of what they like. And that's what we're trying to give them. We're trying to give them something that they can do for their life, their lifetime activities, their future. And we also I helped myself, one of my first years teaching at the middle school, another pat on the back, the adventure education at my school, because I say this, I have two very meaningful teachers in my life that, led me to this field. One is a Spanish teacher from high school, and adventure ed is so much more than just, climb a rope and jump off a log or something.
Ooh, zip line! Whee!
That's how I get fit.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I say everybody has their ways to get their physical education. And we're just there to help. We're there to guide them and give them different opportunities, as many opportunities as possible. The new age is definitely different than the, hey, roll the ball out. Because I've dealt with teaching in certain schools and heard stories as well of the people that just roll the ball out. And that's the most frustrating thing for any phys ed teacher, because it just gives us a bad rap. But then there's amazing stories of, like I first started at high school and we did aerobics. I mean, this is nuts. Like I thought, I was like, what is happening right now? There's an aerobics class. There are 150 high school kids in this one gym, and a teacher is leading everybody in the middle. And I've never been so intimidated before in front of a group of kids, because normally I just don't care. And it's fine, just like, the other Mealey, we're kind of just goofy, and it doesn't matter. You just be yourself. And it took a little while for me to understand what I was doing. But then it became like one of the most amazing things at that school. Like twice a week, we did an aerobics class with the entire class. And instead of just playing basketball and football and volleyball, we did that. But this was something that just made their program so much better and kind of, woke me up to all the things that you can do with kids in a setting. As
long as they don't, because it's critically important that the kids in the elementary school play crab soccer.
Soccer.
That is so important, because if you don't play crab soccer, I don't think you're really getting a good physical education. I wish for now we had video, but Tudisco, you've played crab soccer?
Of course I've played crab soccer. And we also had roller soccer.
Nice, on the
those
dollies?
Scooter.
Those little plastic scooters.
On scooters?
Yes, that are just built to break fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have since advanced the scooters, and they actually put handles on them so you don't put your hands underneath them and roll over your fingers.
Wow, man.
Creativity at its best. Yeah, it's wild.
That technology did not exist in the 80s.
No, handles. What? That doesn't make sense.
No,
Put your hands.
Really had seat belts.
Ouch! There they go. Roll over them, but no.
You have 9 others.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, so this is for the sake of the podcast. So I'm taking one for the team here, Tudisco. All right?
Oh boy.
So
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited too.
Better Mealy.
Yes.
And if you have to take a minute, take a minute. But come up with your most embarrassing, I can't believe my brother did this, or my brother was a complete moron, but don't get me fired, story that you have in your repertoire.
I was going to ask that question, but Mealy's controlling the recording right now, so I was afraid he would just shut it off.
No, I value the laughs versus my pride. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. I mean, I don't know. It ties in my my high school career, and to me, it was the funny moment, I guess. I'm playing in a giant stadium where Villanova plays for a district semifinal game. One of the biggest games of my career at that point, and just in a actual stadium, a college stadium, you're like, you don't even know what's going on. I normally zone out anyway, but weird. I mean, Mealy, whatever he is, he's holding a towel.
Hold on. So
I know. Well, I'm going to do that, and then I'll tell the story.
No, don't tell about the towel
yes.
till you tell about the story. So even though he's the better Mealy, he's very passionate about sports, okay? And I don't know how long this goes back, but I'm curious if you do this before games now. But he would...
No, it's adrenaline is what it is.
He would throw up before... What percentage of games in high school did you throw up beforehand?
It's weird. It started later. It started my senior year, I think. I remember it vividly. It was Upper Merion, and I was at halftime, and I was in a really hot classroom, and I'm like, I'm so hot, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel so well. I'm like, I couldn't settle down after halftime. We were in a close game, and I was just like, let's go, let's get out. I was one of those, like, I'd run through a brick wall for anybody on the team. And I got myself so fired up, but then at the same time, like, I was like, oh, I don't feel so well. And I'm like, I can't get out of the classroom because I got to listen to my genius coach for 10 minutes about absolutely nothing. And then I walk out of this classroom, I go in the hallway, and I go to the outside. I didn't know where the bathroom was. So I was like, I literally just went outside to an outside door, leaned over, bah. And nice. I go, all right. And I go, I'm good. I go, like, no one even knows it happened. That one, no one was really aware. The grosser, like, crazier story probably is, again, at halftime. Yes, this is absolutely insane. I come out at halftime, and I wish everyone...
Have you just learned to not eat before the game?
No, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. It was whatever happened. There's no logic to this. So I come out again. This is like we're not crosstown rival, but one of our rivals in the league, and it was like we were tied for the division lead. And I don't know what happens at halftime. I don't know what happens at halftime where I like literally get so. It happens more at halftime than anything else. We come out to half court, and literally I look at one of the other players and I just go,
"Oh!" He's now making the face where his cheeks are full. Okay.
Yes, just completely full. And literally was like, I looked at him, my eyes bugged out, and I ran. It's like, I don't know how I held it in till the locker room. And no one knew what happened. So Dad actually ran into the locker room after me to like check on me. He's like, what happened? Oh my God. And I come out, I'm like, again, every time it happened, it wasn't like I felt sick. I would just get so fired up and adrenaline that like, I don't know. I couldn't control anything. It was the weirdest thing. And it only happened in certain moments. And I come back and I'm like, I get a sip of water, a couple sips of water. Coach is like, sit and relax. I'm like, no, I'm good. Put me in. I'm like, hey, dumb coach, let me in. I mean, no, just kidding.
All right. So what does all this have to do with Mealey with a towel?
So anyway, we're at this stadium, and think of like an actual college stadium with like 2 levels.
This is the quarterfinals. Is that what this is?
This is the semifinals of the districts.
Semifinals of the district, not the state.
Not the state, no. Against Richard Hamilton. That was my famous time playing against somebody actually really famous who ended up playing in the NBA. So
never heard of him.
Just a little, you don't know who he is.
No.
Anyway, I know. You're not athletic. I get it.
Knowing players' names makes you athletic now, apparently.
Yes, way more athletic.
All right.
It's demonstrative of athleticism.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
R.I.P. Curly Neal, who's the best basketball player ever, by the way. Did you know Curly Neal passed? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, well aware.
He's
one of my favorite
moments.
Mealey with a towel. I'm still up in the air here.
I talked about this, that the tangents would go on and on with him.
Yes. Yeah,
I don't know how we're going to get through a podcast with the two of us. It's nuts. So Mealey with a towel in the second deck, like a towel that you would put like outside the shower, like the bath mat towel, written on it. Hey Mealey, how's your tummy? With like a stick figure leaning over a toilet. And meanwhile, like, how would I ever see that? It wasn't even big enough for me to see if I knew where he was. Let alone the fact that he was like in the second deck going, hey, Mealey, how's your tummy? In the crazy, normal Mealey way.
Yes, because you never saw it during the game. I screamed as loud as I could, but it just doesn't travel that far. Like,
it really had nothing to do with where you were, but it just added to the story because you could have been on the other side of the bench, like behind my bench, and I wouldn't have been. I zone out. I don't pay attention. I don't listen to I look at the crowd, but it's a blur. It's one of those things where you just kind of go with things. People would, like in high school, would ask me, hey, did you see me? I was cheering for you. I was like, I said this to you. You looked right at me. I'm like, I didn't look right at you. I was like, I'm running by. I'm like, there's like 200 people in the bleachers. How am I supposed to spot you? And it was like, oh, I'm wearing this shirt. I'm like, well, I didn't know that ahead of time. And I didn't know I was supposed to look to you. Yeah. But anyways, again, Mealey tangent off. So throwing up became my thing. Before national anthems, sometimes at halftime. And no effects after it. It actually made me feel really good. It was like it's like a stress reliever. It was what it became.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Now,
Don't try that at home, kids.
No, please don't. It's not really a good idea.
No, it's bad for your teeth.
Do you tell these stories to your students or your soccer kids or your golf kids, whatever? Do you ever share some of your experiences, whether with throwing up or other things like that? And how often does that happen?
Oh, it helps the kids relate sometimes when they look at you like you're crazy, asking for something for them to do. And I'm like, hey, this is what I used to do. And I'm like, hey, there's this time my father taught me to take care of this guy that's riding him all game long. And, the guy ended up with the bloody nose and the foul. And I actually reference that story. I'm like, not that I'm telling you to I go, this is not what you should do. I'm just saying there's ways for you to I can't tell you to hurt someone. Like there was times where I set screens and I'm like, I would take so much pride in setting a screen and teaching my players that. They're like, I don't understand. I'm like, seriously. Like I would get joy out of them running into me, not knowing I was there and hitting the ground.
Yes.
But it was completely legal. I just got in the right place.
So you haven't taught them our father's technique. I don't know if you remember him telling this story or not, but he would tell us this. I remember one time he told us this at the dinner table. So our dad, he was a very competitive man. He is a very competitive man. He might have mellowed out a little bit now, but he's still very competitive. But
he would tell this family Monopoly night very interesting.
Yes.
So he would tell
Mom,
this.
Just stay away.
He would tell this story. So this is when he played high school basketball. So this is literally in the 50s, maybe early 60s. But so kids you're playing basketball and people fall down. So he would act like he was going to help the kid. So he would lean over like he's leaning his hand out, bending over. And as he's doing that, he would purposefully step on the other kid's hand.
Oh.
Yeah, he's one in a million.
Have you heard
evolved.
Have you heard that story, Sean?
I have, yeah. I heard some doozies from him. Obviously, some other good stories. He definitely, obviously, made us who we are. At least helped me, at least.
No, I was going to say also to give Papa Mealey some props.
Yeah.
Part of the when you're telling that story about the kid
Tough love.
that was going to Harvard and that you were doing that, like I think he really did instill in that he instilled that in us as well, to just love those kids and to care about those kids and to care more about them. So I think that's one of the things, and I'm trying to get him on the podcast. I don't know if he's going to do it, but I'm
I think he's got some free time now.
He has some free time.
He's just stuck in Myrtle Beach right now.
Yes. I don't know what his ability to golf or not golf is. In terms of
they're not allowing it anymore.
They're not. Okay. So
even in South Carolina.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's definitely some social distance. You're not within 6 feet of anybody.
Yeah, as long as you ride your own cart and you don't touch the flagpole, you're good.
Yeah. Don't touch the flagpole.
I don't
know. Okay. So unprofessionals, we really appreciate you listening. Better Mealey, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast and giving a little.
Thanks for coming and telling embarrassing stories about Mealey.
Yeah, and if you have some other ones, you can maybe have you back on another time. But also, all the phys ed teachers, thank you, and thank you for representing them and defending them as well. And hopefully, maybe we changed some people's minds about phys ed teachers today. I don't know, but
I hope so. Thanks for having me. Obviously, it was definitely enjoyable and always entertaining.
Yeah, I know you were a little nervous. It wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. Did you throw up before this?
I was about to ask that question.
I didn't leave, so I didn't throw up. So I think I've controlled that. This isn't quite the adrenaline of a basketball game, but
I thought maybe before you logged on, before you zoomed, that you.
No, I did almost forget about it. But then, besides that, my wife was like, "Hey, you might want to go downstairs and get ready." I was like, "Oh my God, what time is it?"
I don't know. This is probably the highest my adrenaline's been all day.
Oh,
that's good. Yes.
All right.
Phys ed teacher, get you moving. Let's go.
There we go. All righty. So get out there and get some exercise, unprofessionals, and we thank you for listening, and stay unprofessional.